Max Verstappen is making headlines again, and this time it's not just about his racing skills. After receiving a controversial penalty from the FIA for using bad language, he's taking a stand against the governing body of motorsport. Fans and experts are demanding an investigation into the FIA's actions and the fairness of their rules. Is this a case of heavy-handed punishment, or is the FIA just doing its job? After qualifying for the Singapore Grand Prix, Max Verstappen kept his responses short during the press conference. This was his subtle protest against a punishment handed down by the FIA, the governing body of Formula One. Verstappen was penalized with mandatory community service for using inappropriate language during a previous driver's press conference. This action is part of FIA President Mohammed bin Sulayem's efforts to crack down on drivers using swear words, especially on team radio. Verstappen, clearly unhappy with the ruling, decided to express his discontent by giving minimal answers to reporters' questions. When asked about the punishment later, Verstappen finally shared his thoughts, stating, "I find it, of course, ridiculous what happens. So why should I then give full answers? Because I might. It's very easy. Apparently you get a fine, or you get some sort of penalties. I prefer then not to speak a lot, save my voice, and I mean, we can do the interviews also somewhere else if you need some answers to the questions asked." He expressed that the governing body seemed eager to establish a precedent with his case, stating, "They want to set the precedent, and people got warnings or a little fine. Now with me, they wanted to set an even bigger example, I guess," which for me is a bit weird, of course. He noted that his comment was not directed at anyone in particular, but was merely a remark about his car. Although he recognized that his words fell within the FIA's code, he felt the punishment was excessive. "I don't want to blame this on the stewards because I actually had a really good chat with them. They just have to follow the code, and the book," he said. Verstappen acknowledged that the stewards were in a tough position and that emotions can run high during races. "Of course emotions can run high, but that's still not okay. I understand that, but I felt like it was quite ridiculous what was given to me." Following the press conference, Red Bull's sporting director Jonathan Wheatley was seen discussing the situation with FIA steward Tim Mayer. Mayer also spoke with other FIA officials, indicating that the conversation likely revolved around Verstappen's protest and the ongoing tension between the drivers and the governing body. After Max Verstappen's controversial press conference, the FIA took action to clarify the situation regarding his brief responses. A spokesperson confirmed to gppblog.com that Verstappen would not face any sanctions for his concise answers to the media. The regulations dictate that drivers must not undermine the sport's reputation and should be available to answer questions during press conferences. Since Verstappen engaged with the media, albeit with shorter replies, he was considered to be in compliance with these rules. The FIA, which oversees the official press conferences during Formula One weekends, released a brief statement regarding the matter, saying, "No, he took part in the FIA press conference as required by the procedures." Verstappen's impact on fellow racers. Max Verstappen's reaction to the FIA's punishment has not only stirred conversations, but has also inspired fellow competitors to voice their frustrations. Eight-time World Rally champion Sebastian Ogier recently demonstrated a similar approach during stage-end interviews at Rally Chile. This action came after he received a suspended fine from the FIA for his remarks regarding officials at the Acropolis Rally earlier in September. Ogier articulated his reasons for this defiance, noting that drivers have been instructed by FIA leadership to shut their mouths. This directive comes in the wake of FIA President Mohammed bin Sulayem's recent comments urging Formula One drivers to refrain from swearing while racing. The FIA has also made attempts to regulate the language used by drivers during media interactions in the World Rally Championship. During his brief interview, Ogier apologized to fans and explained, "You realize that I didn't really want to talk today. We've been told that we shouldn't at the moment. It's not a fantastic reaction to do what I do, and it is not personal against the interviewer. For the fans, I am sorry about it, but we have very few tools we can use." He continued, "Today, I don't feel like I want to talk. Like I say, I am sorry for all the people that deserve better than that. but we have been told by the top of the FIA to shut our mouths, so it is a bit sad. It's not only in rally at the moment, but let's see what the future brings. While Ogier managed to receive only a suspended fine, Verstappen's use of inappropriate language during an official press conference at the Singapore Grand Prix resulted in a mandatory work of public interest punishment. This distinction highlights the differing responses the FIA has had to their drivers' comments. Verstappen, who has already indicated that his F1 career might not be long-lived, expressed concern that such penalties could push him to leave the sport sooner than anticipated. He stated, "For sure, these kinds of things definitely decide my future as well. When you can't be yourself or you have to deal with these kinds of silly things, it's tiring." He elaborated, "Of course, it's great to have success and win races, but once you have accomplished all that, winning championships and races, you want to just have a good time as well. Everyone in this paddock is pushing to the limit, even those at the back of the grid. But if you have to deal with all these kinds of silly things, for me, that is not a way of continuing in the sport, that's for sure." Ralf Schumacher on Max Verstappen's uncertain future in F1. In a recent interview with Sky Germany, Ralf Schumacher shared his insights regarding Max Verstappen's future in Formula One. He suggested that the Dutch driver might consider retiring sooner than expected, especially if his ongoing tensions with the FIA continue to escalate. Schumacher remarked, "At the moment I see him at Red Bull, but of course that depends on whether the car becomes good enough again and whether he can win again, because that's what he wants. He absolutely wants to win." Schumacher highlighted that Verstappen's passion lies more in racing itself rather than solely in the Formula One platform. Despite his remarkable dominance in the sport today, Verstappen has repeatedly indicated that achieving his dream of becoming a world champion has been a significant milestone. For him, anything beyond this achievement feels like a bonus rather than an obligation. "By the way, I trust that he could quit if things escalate," Schumacher noted, emphasizing Verstappen's financial independence. He acknowledged that the young driver has often expressed a desire not to remain in Formula One indefinitely, suggesting that a sudden exit from the sport should not be ruled out. Verstappen himself has hinted at his uncertainty about the future, particularly after facing penalties from the FIA. When asked if such decisions would influence his career, he stated, "Definitely, these decisions decide my future." Moreover, during last month's Dutch Grand Prix, Verstappen alluded to being halfway through his career, expressing concerns about the increasing demands of the ever-expanding race calendar. This reflection on his career trajectory raises questions about how long he will remain in a sport that is constantly evolving and demanding more from its drivers. Could Verstappen have a future outside of Red Bull? Ralf Schumacher also touched on the ongoing speculation surrounding Max Verstappen's future in Formula One, particularly the interest from other teams that could be vying for his services if he decides to leave Red Bull. He mentioned that both Mercedes and Aston Martin are reportedly keen on the talented driver. "From a sporting point of view, it's interesting," Schumacher said. "Of course, Mercedes' statement, 'There's always a place for you here,' is clear, and I believe Aston Martin and Adrian Newey are also very interested in him because they know what he can do." These comments highlight the allure Verstappen holds in the F1 world, given his exceptional talent and proven track record. While he is currently focused on achieving more world titles with Red Bull, the mention of other teams suggests that his options remain open should he ever contemplate a move. However, the backdrop of escalating tensions between Verstappen and the FIA adds a layer of complexity to his future. As these conflicts continue, the idea of an early retirement for Verstappen becomes increasingly plausible. He has indicated in past interviews that his passion for racing extends beyond just the competitive sphere of F1, and this could lead him to reassess his career if the environment within the sport becomes too challenging. For now, Verstappen remains committed to Red Bull, yet the landscape of Formula One is ever-changing. With teams like Mercedes and Aston Martin waiting in the wings, it's clear that the racing community is watching closely to see how Verstappen's journey unfolds amid the pressures of the sport. So what do you think of Max Verstappen's taking on the FIA leading to penalties? Comment below and subscribe for more.